Morning, everyone.
Morning.
It's wonderful to see so many friendly faces from a wide variety of our media friends. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. For those that don't know me, I'm David Wolf from Closer Communications, proudly here with Team Boost Mobile on what is a big day and a big moment in time for Boost family. I'll shortly hand over to the founder of Boost Mobile, Peter Adderton, to say a few remarks, and we've got some special guests as well to introduce you to later. Just really quickly, from a housekeeping perspective, you've probably done a million Zoom calls by this point, but if you can put yourself on mute, please feel free at any time to write questions in the chat. We're only going to be chatting for about 15-20 minutes of remarks, and the whole idea is to then have a bit more of an open Q&A, as we always do with Peter, and a bit more of a celebration as well. So, Peter, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks for that, David. Well, welcome, everybody. I was thinking about this walking over here. This is basically a day for me to pat myself on the back as I started reading the press release. I'm starting to read about how great, Boost has done, and started thinking, this is more about me, but I better make it more about Boost as well, because we've spent a lot of energy and effort in getting where we are today. 20 years ago when we launched the brand, I never thought we'd be where we are today with a multi-billion-dollar brand that's got over 9 million customers around the globe. It has connected some of the most needed consumers in the marketplace, both here in Australia and obviously in the US through the campaign and the initial launch across there. So I'm very excited about what we've been able to achieve. It's been a massive effort from a major group of people, not just obviously me, but there's been a team that's been involved in us building this. There are very few brands, MVNO brands. We've outlasted, Virgin, Richard Branson, who sailed, I think, last time when he launched. I was here when he actually launched. I think he helicoptered into Darling Harbour. He did something crazy in New York as well, and we've outlasted those guys. And, that's really been based on the foundation of us building this brand, that it's a credible, authentic brand. We're always about making sure that people go out there and say what they want to say and do what they want to do. We don't want to confine people into what they think they should be doing. I was talking to someone the other day about, why Boost has been successful. And if you look at a lot of the stuff we did early on here in Australia, but also in the US, we took risks. It's fairly common today for a major corporation to basically go get a Kanye West or a hip hop star, a rap star, or a skateboarder, and bring them into their mix. When I started Boost, it wasn't. We were really cutting edge. In fact, if you look at one of the artists that we partnered with, which was Ludacris over in the US, Pepsi had signed him, and basically Bill O'Reilly on Fox went on and basically slammed Pepsi for being involved with a gangster hoodlum, and we signed with them. So, when you look at where we were today and the risks that we took back then, today they don't look like they're that much of a risk anymore, but they really were at the time. So we've come a long way. And in fact, there was a book written by, a guy who put the three kings together, which was basically the three hip hop moguls, which was, P-Diddy, Jay-Z, and Dr. Dre. And Boost and my name was mentioned through the book as one of the very few brands that actually took a risk. And it was a big risk at the time to do that. And I think that's what made Boost credible, is we didn't just take a marketing angle and look at the data and research and then decide, okay, this is what we're going to do. We live, we breathe, and we love this stuff. And I spent a lot of time talking to P-Diddy and Jay-Z and Kanye, who we actually put in our first commercial. And not just from a, hey, by the way, we're a branding marketing person, but from really listening and understanding what they wanted. They always had input in the brand and how we wanted to shape the brand. And that's why when you look at what's happened with the Boost brand over the 20 years, a lot of brands that have partnered with us or that have potentially, bought the brand, Nextel, which was a $35 billion merger. Well, Boost is the only brand that came out of that. If you look at what's just happened in America with Sprint, you've now seen Sprint, which has been sold, and T-Mobile obviously took the Boost brand, and it's the only brand that came out. All the other brands went away. So Boost has always been there. And if you look, we've changed networks here. We were obviously on Optus originally, and now we've moved across to Telstra. So the brand is strong. And, when I start looking at what we've been able to do and what we've been able to achieve, 20 years is a massive milestone. We're very, very proud of what we've been able to do. And, I'm excited for the next 20 years. And again, it all comes down to what makes a brand stay relevant, what makes a brand, last 20 years, and that is constantly reinventing itself. And, as I get older, we obviously have, younger teams coming in and telling us what they want to do. Someone said to me the other day, he said, Peter, you're getting old. When do you tap out? And I said, well, the interesting thing is if you look at the number one youth brand in the world, it's Apple, right? It's not run by a 25-year-old, right? So it's basically, when you think about this, a lot of the young people don't necessarily know what they don't know or what they need. So I guess it's our job to take the input and then try to serve a product up for them. So, we will continue to keep doing that, continue to keep reinventing ourselves. I kind of like to consider Boost and the people of Boost in marketing as storytellers. Everything we do when it comes to a marketing angle, there has to be a story behind it. It just can't be, okay, stick our logo on this. There has to be some authenticity of why we're doing it. We have to have, the consumers who follow those sports or follow those events or that music feel that the Boost brand gets them. And that's really, really critical for us. And I think that's why, brands today are struggling. I think, I look at what's happened in the last 20 years and people ask me, well, from a brand perspective, have we gone forward? Have we gone backwards? And I would argue we've gone, the majority of brands have gone backwards. They're risk adverse. They're basically trying not to offend anybody. So basically what they are is a nothing brand. They basically go out there and they try to make everybody feel good. And we now know with social media that it's almost impossible to make everyone feel good. So at some point you're going to have to take a position and take a stance as a brand. And, I think Nike did a great job with the Colin Kaepernick. That was a big risk for them to be able to take, and they did it, and it paid off. Most brands wouldn't have even touched that. So, when Boost back in the day, and what we continue to keep doing now is take those risks, and that's what's going to make us different. We also don't think like a telco, right? We don't think of ourselves as a utility-based telco. We don't think about just selling gigabytes and minutes and messaging, right? We sell a lifestyle, we sell an experience, and we basically fight for consumers. The long life plans we launched, we saw a real need in the marketplace for people who basically wanted to set and forget, buy their service and not have to worry about it. So we pioneered and pushed that very, very hard. A lot of the stuff that we're doing now, I think in the future, as you start to see bundling come on, will be really, really important. So, I just think that we're in a very, very unique time when it comes to branding and marketing and telco. And, we've got a lot of convergence going on right now. We've got a lot of it going on. Before we were basically just a distribution point. Well, now people are starting to bundle subscription services. So we're now kind of like bundling services. You look at what's going on in the US, Verizon's bundling Disney Plus, and T-Mobile's bundling Netflix, and you've got Hulu being bundled by the others. AT&T bought HBO on the go. So you're now starting to see the distribution and the content kind of merging. And I think that's a real shift that's going on in the marketplace. It's something that we'll continue to keep driving along. So really, when I look at it and I look at the foundation of what we've been able to do, a lot of people come in and they look at brands and they say, okay, I'm going to take that brand and move it forward. They don't own that brand. They didn't, they weren't the founders of that brand. We pride ourselves on that. A lot of our staff, here in Australia have been there for the inception of Boost. A lot of the team that I currently work with today, 15 years later, are still one of the original founders of the Boost brand. And that's telling because people love what we do and we try to create an environment. I'm a big believer that the consumer comes first. Employees, come right alongside the consumer. But as we all know, without consumers, there are no employees. So we always make sure that we focus on what the consumers needs. We spend every single day of our lives getting up and going, how can we make the consumers' lives better? How can we connect them faster? And how can we make that value play a lot better? But when it comes to the way that, as I said, Boost does marketing, it is about storytelling. And everything we try to do is about having an angle where we tell a story. We try to engage the fan base. We try to engage the consumers to, not always agree with us. And in fact, I don't want them always to agree with us. I want them to basically have a point of view. And, if it's different to somebody else's point of view, that's great, right? I want to encourage that people respect each other's points of views and they don't talk over each other. But at the end of the day, that they don't have to conform to one particular view versus the other. And that's very unlike a traditional telco. If you look at the traditional telcos today, they're basically vanilla brands, right? They basically have a big fishnet. They drag it along, whether you're 5 or you're 65. They drag you in. They throw you in there and they try to sell you a plan that does probably fit your need anyway. They put you on a plan and then they leave you on your way. And then you've got to kind of discover it the rest yourself. the boost isn't about that. One thing that pops to mind, which really was pretty compelling for me on branding, was we had a massive skateboard event in the Hard Rock in Las Vegas, and it was the most expensive skate event ever put on. It was the Boost Mobile Pro for skate. And we brought out Lincoln Park and Nelly at the time. All the young people on the call here probably don't even know who Nelly is, but he used to be popular. So we brought Nelly and Lincoln Park into the Hard Rock, and I had the Nextel executives with me, and Nextel was a very corporate brand across there. And I said, I'm going to show you guys what branding is all about. And they said, what's that? I said, at the end of the night, I'm going to get Lincoln Park to throw in Nextel hats and Boost hats into the crowd. And they said, okay. And I said, I'm going to show you a point. So we threw out the Boost hats and we threw out the Nextel hats. When everyone had gone out and the cleaners had come in, they basically were all wearing the Nextel hats because basically nobody wanted them. All the Boost hats had gone. And that was the power that I believed in making the brand be successful, is that people wanted to wear it. They wanted to be a part of it. And we are, and I keep saying this, we are authentic. I go back and look at, the early days of surf. We came in and really tried to push surf very, very hard. We wanted to be authentic. In fact, the brand itself, the name itself, actually comes from a surfing term when I was, and by the way, I'm the worst surfer that anyone will ever see. I don't profess for 1 second. I put my wetsuit on, I put the zipper on the front. So I'm not a great guy when it comes to surfing. I just want you to know that. Don't sit back there and try to pretend to be something I'm not. But we were sitting out and these surfers had just come in, and we were back when I was not looking weird in a nightclub because I was younger. Obviously I can't go there because my teenage daughters won't let me. But the bottom line is we were sitting there and they were talking about, and these guys came in and they were talking about boosting off this wave. And I love that concept of boosting in the air, which is basically what we sell. And we got 2 ramps which came in there. And so the foundation of the brand really came from that. But I remember, go back in the days when, Kelly Slater was, he only had Quicksilver. Pure, that's all Quicksilver would allow. Well, Boost got onto his board. We did a lot with those guys. I took the Boost Mobile Pro into California. The ASP at the time had lost the event in California because no one was willing to step up for it. A lot of trestles. Well, we came back in and we brought that event back in. So everything we ever did, and right from Taj Burrow to Oki, all across the board to Bo, everybody, we always tried to be authentic and be part of that. And it wasn't a pretend. It wasn't us just coming out there and trying to get them just to wear our logo and then never call them again. It was about how do we keep this brand real and keep it active and be part of that community. We listened. If people thought we were doing something stupid, there's famous discussions of me in Huntington Beach having a stand-up argument with all the surfers because they were doing this ESPN X Games and I had the Boost Mobile Pro and I wasn't very happy about the fact that 2 weeks later they were going to do another event. So, we had all the surfers come and basically confront me about wanting to do that, and I had pretty much a very lively argument with a lot of them. So we've always been that way, even when you look at what we did with Chad Reed. You look at what we're doing with Supercars today, and I know James is on the call. We've had a long history with these guys, so we try to hang on to our ambassadors for a long, long time. And we always try to reward loyalty. And I think that's something that's being missed. So we're super excited about the fact that we're celebrating 20 years. And I still don't use Botox, even though I live in Orange County. I probably should. But we're still pretty excited about where we are now and that we're continuing to continue to keep growing this brand. And I look forward to the next 20 years if COVID allows us. I do look forward to the next 20 years of really having a great experience for the Boost brand and continuing to see it keep growing. I know I had 15 minutes to talk, but when I'm over myself talking, I guess you guys probably were over about 5 minutes ago. So I'm going to shut up and David, let somebody else say something.
Well, Peter, I might just ask you to touch on before we open it up and maybe chat to James and Sally to chat a little bit about Boost local performance. Something to touch on as well. Yeah. So a lot of people don't know actually how successful Boost has actually been. They talk about a Mason and how a Mason subscriber count is up there. I look at where we are today, and we're well north of 500,000 subscribers. We're well north of that. We don't give the exact numbers, but I would argue we're probably bigger, better. I think if you look at the quality of subscribers that we have,
I think that I'd argue that we're better subscribers, we're better customers than a Mason has. I'd love the Mason customers to come to us because then they would be better automatically. But I know that we're a lot bigger in the size and scale than a lot of people think. We're a real business, and we've had some tremendous growth. So, a lot of people sit back and you always talk about a Mason being the number one MVNO. I would argue that we're number one. We're number one on a brand perspective, and I think we would be number one if you looked at the subscriber quality of customers that we have versus what they have. So, they're kind of the comparisons across the board. So, I think we try to keep ourselves real. We don't go out there and promote ourselves as, this is how many subscribers got, aren't we fantastic? Because it's all about the customers. Everyone's an individual, but, we are a significant part of the market here in Australia, and obviously a significant part of the market in the US. So, we're proud of what we've done there. You're muted, David.
I know. Peter, would you like to introduce our special guests for a few remarks, and then we'll open it up to
I've known James for a long time. I'm not sure special's the term, but I'll bring him and Sally into it. So James, obviously you and I go back. I think you walked in my office. I think you were 14.
In mid-90s.
In the 90s. And I'll get James just to give you a little bit of his background and what he's done. And then, I can't see Sally on. Is she there?
Yeah, she's
Hey, Peter. I'm here. I hope you guys can hear me.
Yeah, I can. I can't see you, but that's okay because I can't see anything, to be honest with you, at my age. So anyway, sorry, I'll go to you in a second. But James, so a bit of your background and then...
Can you hear me? Am I on? Yeah, it's all good. First of all, there's a huge pile of massive names that you've been dropping that I'm going to have to jump over. All these Jay-Z's, P-Diddy, all these massive people. So it's amazing.
Well, James, your rapping career's not over yet, mate. I mean, when you finish supercars, get a big gold chain, a gold tooth, and you're on your way.
Buddy, I'm from Western Sydney, so I've got a lot of hard luck stories that I can tell. But no, like you said, Pete, it's been an amazing journey. We first met would have been mid to late 90s, and the amazing salesman you were selling me the dream of jumping on board and going on an amazing journey with you, which has been crazy, and to be part of that and to have known you and seeing your brand succeed and being a little bit of piece of that over that whole time has been, for me, it's been amazing to see that grow and see you go to America and do so well and then come back and take on the Giants. It's been cool. And then to be able to be representing you through all that time. And like you said, loyalty has been, a huge part, and that's what you're always spruiking and in the media within our sport, you're the first guy to stand up and say those things. And I suppose myself on the motorsport side of things, myself and Chad are probably those prime examples of you taking two young kids from Australia that had no idea what they were doing really in the big wide world, probably as much of an idea as what you had, jumping on board, believing what you're saying, and going on this amazing journey. So it's I wouldn't have been able to succeed and seen as much of the world as what I had and done the things I've done if it wasn't for guys like you. So huge hats off, thanks to you. We've had some crazy times as well. At the start of this year, we had the team that we were with initially, and then it all fell apart. Then the COVID side of things, and to be able to walk away from something and know that I've got the support of a guy like you is, made it so much easier. And I've got a family, I've got two young kids, and to know that you've always got my back has been amazing. So thank you. I'm getting all emotional. Sorry, everyone.
No, mate, I wish you talked to my kids.
Oh, mate, no one's kids listen to them. It's like a quick little side story. Mick Doohan's son comes to me for racing advice, and I'm like, mate, your dad's 5 times world motorbike champion. What are you talking to me for? And he's like, Dad's got no idea. So no one listens to their kids, or no kids listen to their parents. Yeah. But it's been fantastic, mate. So for our sport, what you've done, and for motorsport has been amazing. You're never shy with your opinion, which I think is great, which I'm exactly the same. And I think that's why we probably got on so well. And you've been a big part of growing what our sport is internationally as well as nationally. And, with supercars through this COVID period, you've been, at the forefront voicing your opinion on what should be done. you're an entertainer. You know about entertainment and how to, get the brand out there and how to entertain people, really, whether it's you talking or causing a drama so at least the Boost brands with being mentioned. You're definitely at the front of that line for people that have that ability. So it's been great. Supercars wouldn't be what they are if it wasn't for guys like you, and you've been involved in all the way up. I remember another friend of mine, Danica, and you did IRL with her at the Indy 500, which is, your brand's been everywhere and it's been hugely successful. So thank you for everything you've done. I can't really comment on the telco side of things, but as for supporting me with and youth and loyalty and all those things that you say, I'm an exact example of that. So I'm now 40 years old. I was 15 when I sat in your office with you back then, and you sold me the dream that you take care of me. You're still taking care of me, and I'm 40. You've done more for me than what my parents have. So is this where I call you Dad, Pete? Or
yeah. I'm not that much older than your son, so settle down.
We have got a similar hairdo going on. I must have not as much grey.
I must have had you at 11. Mate, all I need you to do is just one thing for me, and that's win Bathurst in October. If you could just do that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, mate, that's what we're all here for. So it's it's going to be great. It's Bathurst the end of this year is pretty exciting. We have 2 races in South Australia back to back this coming weekend. We've had great results this year with all the turmoil that's happened with the COVID side of things, and it's been great to be able to reward you with that. And definitely Bathurst this year to be standing on the podium and be able to cover you in Champagne is definitely the target. So thanks, buddy. Let's get that silver hair wet.
Mate, done. As long as you wear your mask. So I got Sally, who's on the phone. One of the things that we did the Boost Mobile Pro last year up at the Gold Coast is, I've obviously come from I've got 3 daughters, and it always kind of frustrated me that the prize money was never the same. It was never equal. And I think, maybe I'm wrong here, but I would like to think that the last year that we did it, which was last year, we made the prize money the same because we think that, it should be. And I think that's fair. And, I think that, from our perspective, we've always tried to, support the surf industry like we have, all the industries that we've been in, but we've also tried to create an equal playing field for everybody. I think that's really important for Boost. So I think it was the first year, and Sally probably correct me if I'm wrong, but where we made the prize money the same. We want to continue to keep obviously pushing and getting behind that. But it's great to have, someone who, in my opinion, a lot of Aussie kids look up to, is an incredible role model for kids, for young girls as well, an incredible role model for Australians. And there's not a lot of them out there, I'll be honest with you right now. And I'm just super happy, and I know Boost is super happy to have, her as part of our program. So Sally, looks like you've been surfing, you're about to go surfing.
Peter, thank you for the incredibly kind words. It's been pretty cool just reflecting on the 20-year journey. I was reminiscing, it's been sort of 20 years for me in competitive surfing. So just thinking of the ground that I've traversed and then alongside a brand that is so respected, and just to be surrounded by athletes like James and everyone on the team, and sharing those memories and milestones. Like, that was a huge moment last year to suit up for the Boost Mobile Pro at the Gold Coast and just be proud to know that the brand that I'm connected to and supporting me is supporting women's surfing on a whole. And we're just so much better off for it. And even just hearing you tell that story, about that the Boost brand came from you interacting with the fact that in surfing, going to the air is called a boost. And for me right now, it's such a passion project. I've been drills and spills for the last sort of 10 years to try and bring my air game to the forefront. And I was actually inspired way back when I was a Grom at the Boost Air shows at Bondi and seeing all my favourite aerialists, Kersey and Taj and everyone, Slater. And I was like, man, I want to enter these contests, but I wasn't able to kind of perform the manoeuvres that it requires. So I went on away back there to Duroa, and every time between events, I've just been persisting. And on days when it gets really tough, I definitely lean on the team and think of those moments you had to overcome. And I kind of go back and rely on my process and just stick true to it. So every time I am in the water doing the thing I love most on my board at the moment, it represents my relationship with the brand. And so 20 years is, I think something that you can definitely hold high, and just know that everyone and that's been affected by the brand and all your energies has benefited. So I can't wait to see what's coming in the future. And in the meantime, as you said, our whole hashtag, like connecting anywhere, literally, I've got my car, I've got my boards, I've just come in from the surf, and to know that I can be anywhere to, to train and push my limits, but still connect to things I love most. So thank you guys. It's absolutely incredible. So stoked to be a part of this.
Great to have you guys on board. It really is. And again, the ambassadors of our brand are absolutely critical voice on who we are and what we are. So without them, we would be very, 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 very weak. So again, thanks you guys for joining us.
Fantastic. Yes, well, let's open it up. It's more than a three-person party, and we really appreciate everyone joining. We've got media representatives from a wide group of media, business, telco, tech, through to representatives in marketing, media, and the surfing and motorsport community. So please don't be shy in your questions. I know from experience that Peter won't be shy in his answers. So I would like to open the floor up to anyone that has a question. I will kick it off while everyone is thinking of their questions. Dave,
they may not have any, just to be clear.
Well, I've got at least one, so that's good.
Okay.
So our friend Dave Bullard down in Melbourne. Peter, when do you think we'll see 5G as mainstream service in Australia? What do you think about all the tinfoil hat controversies over it at the moment?
The funny thing is that I've been pretty consistent on this with 5G, is that the overall experience for the consumer on a smartphone is going to be very, very small. And if people are thinking that 5G is going to revolutionize your experience on a device like a smartphone, other than charge you more for the phone, I think they're going to be disappointed. I think we've got a long way to go before 5G actually has an impact. And I think if it's going to have an impact, it's probably going to be more of a fixed line replacement than it is to improve your experience. If you look at what's going on, 5G is a very loose term. And you look at the 5G, it comes down to the spectrum bandwidth. You look at the US, you've got like your different megahertz bands where you've got, Verizon out there doing millimeter wave, which is basically a very fast service, but very, very close to where you have to be. You walk 20 feet away, it stops working. Then you've got the 600 megahertz for T-Mobile, where they basically got nationwide coverage, but it may be 20% faster than 4G. The things that they claim that are great about 5G is latency. Well, I don't know and many people have complained that their videos don't start fast enough on 4G. So I think that's going to be a real challenge. I can understand why the carriers push 5G, because they really don't have anything else to push. It's something that they think is exciting, and it's a marketing differentiation. But then again, I think they've jumped the gun on it, like they always do. I think they've jumped the gun on marketing it. I think they've jumped the gun on the ability to demonstrate to the consumer why it's going to matter. I sit back and I ask all these carriers, what's the killer app? And I said, don't talk about drones and don't talk about autonomous cars. Because I said, who's not talking about 5G is the people who are actually building autonomous cars and drones. I said, talk about what is the killer app that's going to make consumers. Now, we know what that was in 4G, and that was video, right? Video got a lot better. The buffering went away, and so you had the great ability. So what is that next level? And I can see it on the on the business side and the consumer, but not on the consumer side. And then when I talk about consumers, boost customers. So I'm going to have to, and then first of all, they also thought they'd get a premium for this, and now most carriers around the globe thought they'd get a premium for 5G, and now they've come down and said, oh, by the way, it's the same price as 4G now. So not sure why you'd spend so much capital putting into a 5G network to only then charge the same price for 4G. So it's going to be interesting, but I just have this belief right now that if people are waiting, if the carriers think that this is the holy grail that's going to change the industry, that it's just not going to happen in the short term.
Thank you, Peter. Steve Fennick from Tech Guide has a question. Actually, Steve, do you want to ask it?
G'day, Peter.
Hey, Steve.
mate, in 20 years, you've done a lot, you've seen a lot. If you could go back, if you had a time machine and change one thing, what would it be?
My first marriage. Okay. That's just an interesting question. I think it would be probably, in my opinion, the ability to, try to spend more time in understanding the technologies of where it was going. I mean, I do that now. And before, I basically didn't really care that much about it because it was basically just, 3G, and we basically ran off a Brew handset, or we basically ran off Java or Symbian and let Nokia and everybody else play in that space. So I think if I had my time again, it would have been probably more to create a more Apple-like experience where we engage the customers more. I mean, today, if you look at Boost, one of the biggest challenges we have is we basically sell a service, right? And so who's going to be the cheapest and who's going to have the best quality network? And that's a very, very hard game to continue to fight in. So what I would have done is probably spent more time differentiating the product more than just around pricing. And having said that, that's exactly what we're doing now. And if you were all in the office here, I'd be showing you some stuff that we're working on, which would literally blow your mind. It is, in my opinion, it's a game changer. And I've shown some of the biggest carriers in the world, some of the biggest cable companies in the world, and they've seen what we're building without, giving it away. And I know everyone's going to kick me if I say anything, but what we're building, the next experience for mobile connectivity, is going to blow people's minds. It's going to blow people's minds. It's like nothing you've ever seen before. And you'll look at it and you'll go, that's so simple. Why isn't this done before? So I think we've started it, so it's not like it's too late, but that's probably what I wish I had done earlier on, rather than just rely on minutes messaging and megabytes.
Thanks, mate.
Just going back to your comments earlier about risk-adverse companies, nothing brands, not prepared to take risks. JB Hi-Fi now is doing around about 1.2 to 1.3 billion in smartphones. Do you think the carriers are still the same shape and form from a marketing perspective and from a brand perspective as they were probably 10 years ago? And this is one of the big problems with the carriers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what have they done in the last 10 to 15 years other than change their logo, to make it a little bit more modern? I mean, it's still the basic mentality of selling something for a service for as less than the other guy. So they haven't really created. If you look at the innovation, I know that one of them was going to go from telco to techco. And when you go into the innovation labs, all they do is show you everybody else's product. The problem is the DNA of a carrier, and I've always said this from day one, the DNA of the carrier, and it's kind of carriers around the globe, and it starts from the top to the bottom, is that they can't compete and be innovative if all they do is keep the exact same people that have been there for the last 15 to 20 years. And in order for them to be able to be the innovative companies that they need to be and fight off competition, they need to think very, very differently. And the problem is that the carriers still think quarter by quarter by quarter, half year by half, but year by half year. They're the slaves to the shareholders. If you're putting out a dividend, don't upset that dividend because that's going to hurt. And that's the problem that you have. So they're basically running it to an EBITDA margin, which allows them to push out a dividend, which allows all the investors to be happy, when that frankly isn't the best thing. So that's why we haven't seen massive innovation. I mean, again, the innovation from 2G, I mean, they're all shutting down their 3G networks, right? And the 3G was the holy grail. They're now going to 4G. They're going to 5G. There's talk now about 6G. Just so you know, this is everybody else's technology. This is not them creating it. They're basically the wholesaler of the other people's networks. So I think that that's a real challenge. And I just don't see how keeping a traditional carrier model that they have today of how they operate these things, these big or slow, politically driven companies, how they're going to be able to fight the innovation that's coming. And I think that that's where we're going to see in the next 5 years a real crossroads for these guys, Dave. And I think that, you and I have spoken about this before. They can't stay as they are. And anyone who thinks that they can stay as they are is dreaming. Now, everyone's probably thinking, if you're a CEO of a large corporation like an Optus or a Telstra, is like, I'm only going to be here for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years. As long as it doesn't change that much, I'll get my bonus. I'll keep the dividends flowing into somebody else's problem. Well, guess what? It is the consumer's problem that needs to be addressed right now. And I will show you guys, not today, but I will show you what we're building, Dave, and you will see innovation like you've never seen before. And we're super excited about what we're building. And when we show people, it's going to be a game changer. And I said I was on the phone with the largest carrier in the US last week with their network guys, and I showed them what we're building, and their jaws dropped to the ground and said, that's just changed the game, Peter. So that's what I love. That's what excites me, and I think that's what's going to make us different.
Pete, if we take it that you've got a lion's share of the prepaid market in Australia, right?
Yep.
And JB Hi-Fi is now carving out a massive slice of the handset market. Is there a future for carriers, particularly as we've got satellite coming along, where JB could go and sell a satellite connection?
I think the future of the carrier is going to be very, very different. So you're always going to need an infrastructure play. You're always going to need someone who's going to provide the utility service and provide the spectrum and provide the capital to continue to build that. So you're going to need that experience. The way you purchase, and I would argue that I would look at the carrier in two separate pieces. I would look at them as a retail business, and I would look at them as basically an infrastructure play. The infrastructure play, they kind of dabble in retail because that's how they work. They all want to be like retail consumer brands. I don't think we'll see those as much as a strong consumer brand in the next 5 to 10 years. There'll be infrastructure plays that I think multiple brands will start to appear. And, one company that I'm working with right now is basically building a platform, like an MVNE platform that's going to enable big brands to come in. So if, JB Hi-Fi wanted to do their own wholesale deal, they could basically do this through the cloud so they could actually get their customers. And so the collecting of that data is really, really important. So what you're going to see is you're going to see a very, very different, and I would say the carriers will become less consumer-driven and more infrastructure-driven. It's a nightmare for them because the multiples on infrastructure businesses like utilities, like water, gas, and power is not anywhere near as good as brands like Netflix and some of the others that are getting massive multiples. So that's where you're going to see a massive shift. And if you're a shareholder of a telco right now, you should be demanding change, and you should be asking for a very, very different strategy. And the strategy can't be cost cutting or cost savings, because we all know at some point there's only so many people you can fire that you basically can't cut any more costs out of business.
We have a wide range of questions now, Peter, across sport and telco tech. Well, my apologies to you, Andrew. We'll cover off a bit more on the telco side of things, and then move into sport with some questions for James and Sally as well. But Trevor, did you have your question you wanted to ask?
Yeah, I'll give you two. One telco, one motorsport, if that's all right. Pete, on telco, eSIM. At the start of the year, you talked about eSIM, scan a barcode, switch carriers kind of stuff. Any progress on that? That was kind of around Team Sydney launch. And James, just thinking back to Team Sydney launch, it was the start of a big year, very exciting, didn't go the way you wanted to. Given what you've got now in terms of results, do you think you could have achieved that with Team Sydney, or has it actually worked out to be a better year for you?
Yeah, I'll jump in first, Pete, because I won't remember the question. No, it's been, for sure. Both myself and Pete were sort of went into the year with a different plan of things, and it was going to be probably a lot harder journey than what it's turned out to be. So with the whole change of the COVID thing, like I touched on before, amazing to have the support of Pete and boost that whole brand, that whole team. But I think definitely, I've said it a few times, people get a little upset, but I think I'm the only guy in the world that walk up and shake that bat-eating Chinese bloke's hand and say thank you, because he definitely, I rolled out of it with a much better position. I think not only for myself being able to deliver results, but us as a team, as in Boost Mobile and Tickford joining together. I think it's been an amazing thing for both of us, and the results that have come off that so quickly, considering I didn't know anyone there, and also Pete didn't have any relationship, or anyone had any relationship together, for us all to form that new thing and to be getting the results we have straight away has been it's been amazing. So I think it's been a really good thing. I think it probably opened our eyes a little bit to the way we're going to sort of talk about progressing forward and the way we're going to be doing things. But it's I think it's been great, and I'd be disappointed if we didn't get some more results towards the end of the year. And each weekend has been getting stronger and stronger as those relationships, like with any sports, exactly the same as business. You're only as strong as the people that you surround yourself with. Obviously got a good backer, a good partner in with Boost. But then also now we've got that with Tickford and that group moving forward. And the better you get to know the people you're working with, the better the results come and the better the performances are for us. That's only going to get stronger. So, I'm super happy with the way things turned out. And like I said, I think I'm the only guy that would go up and snap that bloke a high five and move on.
So on the eSIM side, you know how you know when you've got an incredibly disruptive technology is by how slow the people who are going to be disrupted move. And so what we have seen, I mean, these guys jump super fast on something that they know has no impact on their business. It is the most disruptive technology that we've seen in the marketplace. It puts the power back in the consumer's minds. And I only wish the carriers, I remember I made a point, I think it was a paper a couple of years ago where I called out Vodafone for being so slow, and Vodafone reacted. I think Ben, who's now gone, but Ben reacted saying, well, we're working on it, we're waiting for a software upgrade and blah, blah, blah. The bottom line is that they are slow dragging this, slow playing this, because the disruption this will cause to them will be massive. The ability to be able to move in seconds across multiple carriers, multiple networks is their worst fear. And I tell you who's also worst fear is the shareholders of those carriers, because basically they do value a customer. I think Verizon just bought TracFone. It's worth about $300 a customer. You don't own that customer. That customer can move. If you've had a bad experience in customer care, you don't need to ring up and try to move. You basically can move straight away. So I love eSIM, and as I said, it's so disruptive because of the speed the carriers are not embracing it.
Peter, I'll ask this question on behalf of our friend Alex Horace and the team at Whistleout, who asks, any word on when Telstra will give MVNOs access to 5G?
Yeah, I think it's going to come sooner rather than later. I don't think that that they're withholding it. I just don't see the value right now, to be totally honest. I mean, the value will come, but it's not like we're getting, everyone ringing us up going, hey, we need 5G. When are you guys getting 5G? In fact, that might be the first time I've ever had anyone ask me, because consumers aren't asking for it. I mean, carriers are forcing it down the throat, both, here in Australia and in the US, as a point of differentiation, but no one's seeing, a real demand that they need 5G. And, as I said, Apple's only probably just announcing now their 5G phone, so it's not like they thought it was that important.
Andrew, would you like to jump in and ask your question now? Thanks for your patience on that.
No drama at all. Peter, you've been, quite outspoken and vocal in supporting cost cutting in supercars. Are you happy with the direction that the category's taking with Gen 3? And as a follow-up question to that, what make or model would you like to see Boost Mobile logos on once Gen 3 is up and running in supercars?
Well, I haven't seen what Gen 3 is actually about. I've heard a lot of talk, but I don't know specifically. I mean, we're 12 months away from basically Gen 3 coming out, and I haven't even heard what they're planning to do, what they're, what the development's going to be like, what the costs are going to be of running those cars. You would have thought that if you were developing a whole new platform, that at least a year out, you'd actually know what the hell you were doing. So I haven't seen that, and maybe I'm naive, but no one's told me that, and we're interested in being part of a team as well if we can see what those costs are. So until I see what they're planning to do, and I think they've got to do that sooner rather than later. I think they've used the COVID pandemic poorly. I think this was a real opportunity for them to make massive changes in 2021, but they seem to just stay the course, and to me that's just a real mistake. So from my perspective, I think that I haven't seen anything on Gen 3 and what they're doing. As far as what Boost would like to see their brand on next year, I was always a believer that the consumers have become less passionate about the brand of their car. I think that people love the concept of racing, and I think you look at fans right now. I mean, a lot of people who follow MotoGP continue to keep following it. But at the end of the day, they don't drive Ducatis or Holdens, or Yamahas. So, yeah, I mean that's what I see it.
Peter, continuing on the motorsport, Connor, would you like to jump in? You've got a couple of questions as well.
Hey, Peter. Yeah, I was just going to a couple of things I was going to ask. First of all, it sounded like you, James, and Tickford have been close to sort of agreeing to maybe, a longer term deal. I was just going to see where that's at, and also I was going to see, where you are at with maybe one day you sort of the plan to race, run your own supercars team.
Yeah, I mean, on next year, obviously we've been happy with our relationship with Tickford, and we would obviously like to continue to keep that going, and we're working with them right now on that. Obviously, James, the age he is now, we can get the pension, so it's going to help offset the costs of the driver costs because they're quite expensive. So we're happy with that. And I think on the team side, I would love to have a team. I mean, I'd love the concept that you look at the Formula One, and it's McLaren. And I don't think anyone can even know who the sponsors are on the McLaren car. I think if you ask people other than Shell on the Ferrari car or on Mercedes, it's the Mercedes team. And I love the Red Bull guys because it's the Red Bull team. So I want people to call it the Boost Mobile team. I find, the 888 concept that they see their brand as being a premium, and the DJR Penske and the, Walkinshaw. I don't care about any of those brands. They don't sell anything that I care about, and neither does the consumer. So I'm more interested in having it as the Boost Mobile brand. As I said, whatever we do in the team, it won't be boring and predictable like Shell and Red Bull. It'll be energy. It'll be excitement. It'll be doing something very, very different. So that's really the focus that we have, and we'll continue to keep driving. We'll do things differently. It will not be the same as you see that's out there in the marketplace. So yeah, as long as James can walk up the stairs of the transporter, then we'll probably keep him in the car.
I've still got plenty of blonde or whatever you call it in my hair.
Mate,
So
yeah,
I'm not as silver as you, mate.
Honestly, that's a $25 bottle.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you very much for your patience. You've got some questions actually for Sally. You are on mute, sir.
Still on mute, Keith? Keith, you're still on mute?
How we go? Am I there?
Yep.
This is my second Zoom, so forgive me. I just first of all like to introduce myself. I'm Keith Curtin from Australian Surf Business Magazine. Like to thank Peter and the team for this morning's breakfast. It's really refreshing coming from lockdown in Victoria. My question is...
I didn't know Victoria was locked down. I mean, I had no idea.
I'm not wearing a mask. I feel completely liberated.
Just to put that in perspective, when I left California about 2 weeks ago, we had 10,000 for the day.
Yeah.
I come down here and you guys have got like 50 and you're all scared.
Yeah, totally. And 0 where I am. It's quite a surreal feeling, but the breakfast this morning has been a highlight. So my question's for Sal, and some of it's already been answered. Sal, we touched on it earlier, but I just want to talk about equal prize money and how Boost was sort of innovated that platform for women's surfing, and your thoughts on how that influenced other events, other sponsors, and the World Surf League itself, because that was a pretty major move.
Thanks, Keith. Yeah, awesome question. And pretty awesome little setup of boards you got behind you. That's a good, solid quiver.
I took more time. I set the boards up, but forgot to put the mute off the computer.
Oh, that's all right. I got you back. But in terms of your question, I think the significance of it is huge. When I first came on tour, it was, at the time, I guess you just consider it the norm. Like, you stand up there on the podium and you win, say, the US Open, and you stand there with your check of maybe $10,000, and then Kelly Slater's standing next to you with his check of, $80,000, $90,000, $100,000. And I guess over time it just becomes like, oh, that's a barrier that we'll never overcome. And then, so I think when Bruce made the bold call and for Peter and the crew to say, hey, we're backing this. We're backing women's surfing. We respect it's the same amount of training and time and energy that goes into this. And as well, it's just, I think from the surfer and athlete side, it's this, I don't know, this wave of confidence. It feels like, hey, we're backing you. It's this huge shift for us. I think when I was, 16, 17, it was more so, I guess in any given week, the way our training was structured, most of the week would go towards promoting the lifestyle side of the brand for these other brands and selling the dream of, maybe walking along a really nice beach in the islands in Fiji and it's tropical and it's beautiful and it sells surf product and it was great to have that, I guess, apprenticeship to know the marketing side of the brand. But when I picked up my board, I had this dream of, becoming a world champion, and now it's to become an Olympic gold medalist and a world champion. And, when it did get to that stage last year, we've got equal prize money. There's this huge shift that we're not spending that majority of our week selling the dream of surfing. We're considered core surfers. We spend, as you can see from my wedding tan, which is pretty chronic right now, that we spend all our time working on our performance and our craft. And as I said, I want to, go to an Olympic Games and be boosting and landing and stomping tricks that women's surfing hasn't seen yet. And so all this really excites me, but that's kind of a snapshot into the significance. It was as if the whole tide has turned, and so future generations of women surfers now are going to be, coming onto tour to hold their tour spot, and to do that, you've got to train hard, surf your brains out, and continually think, how can I better myself? Like Peter said, you can't sit still and rest on your laurels. You have to keep reinventing yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Sal.
We've still got some questions, and I'm mindful of time, but the natural connection might be Phil from the team at Ostroid, if you'd like to jump in and ask your question of Sally and James.
Hopefully my mute button worked there.
Got you, Phil. Absolutely.
Aha, beautiful. Maybe a chance to get a bit of a dig in at Peter, but just firing to Sally and James. Peter's spoken about building the brand and building loyalties. Obviously, you guys have got business arrangements with Boost and Peter, but on a personal front, what keeps you guys happy with that arrangement and with Boost as a business?
You go first, Sal. Ladies first. Notice I put my board up here. I heard you talking about boards, so I was like, damn, I'm going to go get one. So I ran over and grabbed one.
This is going to happen. The team surf day, Boost, it's going to be party at the beach. But
this one might be a bit short. I couldn't ride it, but I'm pretty sure you could probably ride it. Pete, I'm sure you couldn't ride it with that silver hair, but you're definitely a longboarder, aren't you, Pete?
It's gliding.
Oh, please. Sorry, Sal. You go.
It would be criminal to even wax that thing up. It's too beautiful to look at. Look at that trophy. But I think for me, in a snapshot, it's just what keeps me happy is Peter's really strong on his values, his framework, how he makes decisions. And like James said, it's about being in an environment that supports that. My values are in parallel with that. So it's quite effortless to know what I'm doing, the team's doing, and it's inspiring each other.
Yeah, I echo that as well. It's loyalty for me is huge. I think in sport, it's something that probably gets lost in people sort of chasing different dreams, and that's one thing that I've sort of, to be able to hold a relationship with anyone over for Pete and I, it's longer than 20 years. To hold a relationship for longer than that with anyone is pretty remarkable. Pete touched on his wedding. My marriage didn't last that long either, but it's it's good to have someone that, even like that, last couple of years were pretty tough for me personally, and to have a sponsor that's also such a great mate that you can call and talk with and help you through those sorts of things. It just shows what a family Boost is. It's not just, a contractual thing where they fling you some cash and you whack a sticker on the car or whatever it is. It's, I could call Pete and at 1:00 in the morning in LA, he would answer the phone and sort of chat and help you through those things. And that's what Boost is. It's yes, it's a telco. Yes, it sponsors surfers and people who race cars, and he helps us live our dreams, but he's also there when you need him, and it is that family thing, and that's what's pretty special, and that's what that's what holds us so tight for such long periods of time, and that's why we're all here doing it. So it's that's why we're here, pumping up his ego. Not that it needs it, because he is the biggest thing ever, and we've all got egos, but Peter's next level, and that's what I'm striving for when I grow up. I want to be Peter Adderton.
James, an ego is something you can develop over time. I was born with mine, so I'd like to consider it as part of my personality as opposed
It's a mutation. It's a mutation, that thing.
I had the same ego when I had nothing, just to be clear.
And that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. You're able to sell it. Ice to Eskimos, Pete. So
exactly.
Continue selling. Thank you, mate.
Our friend Alex Zaharov-Reutt's been very patient with his question. Back on the telco side of things, Alex, would you like to ask your question?
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you, David. Thank you, Peter. Great presentation. I just had three questions. One was about when Boost might introduce the same sort of speed-limited caps once you've hit a certain amount of data. At the moment, Vodafone and Telstra speed limit you to 1.5 megabits. And I'm wondering when Boost might, A, do that, and then B, boost that to, say, 2 or 3 megabits per second as a speed-limited cap. Secondly, how has the refurbished iPhone, Samsung and Google Pixel market been going for Boost? And thirdly, you probably can't answer this one, but when is your new platform coming that you've teased? And presumably, given your mention of companies bundling streaming video, how much sport and other, hopefully, other interactive content will be part of that platform?
Jesus, Alex, it's like to try to remember all those questions. I'll do my best. I'll do a Donald Trump, but I'll answer it based on what I want to say as opposed to your questions.
Is it to do with your age, Pete? Is that what?
So no, I'm just basically going to just do what Trump does. He just will answer a question that was random. No, look, I think if you look at it from our perspective, that looking at the platform that we're talking about, that's coming. I mean, it's coming soon. We've been working on that for a long, long time, and it's taken a lot of iterations. And as I said, I'm going to be super excited to show that. How and when that comes out will be something that we're constantly continuing to keep working on. The refurb phone program has gone great because it really works. So we bundle a SIM card with it, and we send it out, so you basically can buy a whole year's worth of service, including a device. So that's been really, really successful for us. On the speeds related to, I've had this big fight in America about unlimited plans, right? You get a 35, gigabyte limit, and then suddenly they start dropping you down to 2G and 3G speeds, right? And so I call it fake unlimited because it's truly not unlimited. I don't, as a person who's running Boost, or even as a consumer, consider that if I buy an electricity at my house, that it doesn't then suddenly, because I've used too much, suddenly it automatically turns off one of my fridges and 6 of my lights won't work because basically I've gone past that limit. So this concept of capping and slowing things down when your consumer is expecting something is something that I'm just dead against. So I rather pay for speed. I'd rather say, hey, look, if you want the fastest speed in the unlimited plan, then guess what? You're going to pay for that. But that's no different than if you want to take a tollway and there's a toll on that tollway because you want to take the fast route, or you can go on the other side, which is basically going around the route. So that's really been the carriers making, right, where they've gone out there and they've tried to offer more for less, and they're slowly realizing that the return on the network, the capacity that's causing the network is an issue. So now they're starting to speed that down and slow their speeds down. So I'd rather be upfront with the consumer, tell the consumer exactly what they're going to get. And so when you look at what's going on in America right now and the new brand that we're launching across there, I go away from the unlimited because there's no such thing as unlimited, right? Because when you cap somebody, I mean, it's basically saying you can go eat as much as you want at the buffet, but once you've had 2 or 3 goes at the ice cream machine and the ice cream machine stops, right? Well, suddenly it's no longer ice cream, it's now watered down yogurt. So I'm not interested in that, and that's not what we're going to be pushing. So I think that it's wrong of carriers to do that, but it's just the only way they know how to trick a consumer into thinking they're getting more for less.
And look, very, very mindful of everyone's time. I think we've got through most or all of the questions. If we haven't, there's certainly, as there always is, an opportunity to chat to Peter separately one-on-one, but wanted to thank you all for joining us this morning. And Peter, a chance to say farewell and thank you to our media friends.
No, I really appreciate all the support the journalists have given Boost over the last, since I've been coming back and forth, I think quite regularly for the last 2 or 3 years. You guys have been great. I hope we give you things that allow you to go out there and challenge people and say things that most people won't, and that's really what the brand's about. So again, thanks everybody, and I'll let you go and let those guys in Melbourne go to enjoy their 1 hour out.